I took one note while I was watching this at the theater. So let's just get right into what that note was about. Okay, so obviously I'm going to talk about more than just the one note, otherwise this would have been a short. But the one note I took, I didn't realize I had only taken one because I just was watching it, going along with the story. The one note I took was each one with different personalities. And that is, of course, because in Mickey 17, if you've seen the trailers, which I have before I decided I wanted to go see this, there is a Mickey 18 that also shows up. So there are duplicates. I thought there was another word they used for him. Whatever. Mickey 17 is based on the book Mickey 7. Came out in 2022. I had read that this movie was filmed in 2022 as well, and that it was supposed to have released last year, but it got held up. I don't know why. I'm a little suspicious as to why, but I don't know. I might be reading more into it than is really there. But the premise of the story is that it takes place in future Earth. Well, it starts off sort of taking place future Earth. Basically, the setup is there's a character named Mickey Barnes. I think Barnes was his last name. And he is living in a world where there is this effort underway by a politician and his followers. They want to strike off and go to a new planet and colonize it so they can live there. And they're going to take one expendable. They call them an expendable, which is basically someone who is able to die and be reprinted time and time again. No matter how many times they die, they retain their memories. But as you find out in the movie, their personalities are a little different. Each one has different personalities. So Robert Pattinson plays Mickey, and he's trying to escape a loan shark with one of his acquaintances, played by Steven Yeun? Dude from Walking Dead. And they both kind of go on the run. So they decide they're going to get on this ship to escape this loan shark, head off to the planet. Robert Pattinson decides he's going to be an expendable. He doesn't really fully understand what's involved, but he learns quickly. So basically he's sent on all these different, missions that he has to do, stuff maybe outside. He's exposed to different things that could be fatal, and he dies and is reprinted over and over again. They get to this planet, and he has an encounter with one of the native animals, or with a group of native animals on the planet, and this kind of sets in motion stuff that's going on within the big ship that has just landed because they can't colonize the place yet. There's all this political stuff that's happening with the leader. His last name was Marshall. I don't remember his first name. And his wife. Leader is played by Mark Ruffalo. His wife is played by Toni Collette. For me, there was quite a bit to enjoy about the film. It was on my list of most anticipated for the year. However, I ended up not being as impressed by it or enamored with it as I was hoping to be when I made my list of most anticipated. It's okay. I didn't hate it. I just wasn't super wowed by it. I felt that the premise was interesting. I liked the setup and the role that the different characters played. Something else I did appreciate about this was the character who plays his love interest, Naomi Ackie. She was in... Sorry, one of my dogs coming in. Yeah, he's going to want to get in my lap. Hold on. Come here. Okay, sorry about that. I don't know how long this is going to last. Now he's acting like he wants to get down. All right, he definitely wanted to get down. Now he's looking at me like, what'd you put me down for? Okay, I was saying, Naomi Ackie, she plays the love interest of the Mickey iterations, and I first noticed her in the movie Blink Twice, and I remember not being super impressed with her character in that movie. I didn't feel like she had the chemistry to carry a movie because she was the main character. I feel differently about her performance in here. I like the way she played that character. I thought it was done better than her performance in Blink Twice. So that was a plus. I also liked the world building sort of aspect that went into this film. And by world building, basically, I mean the world of the spaceship, because most of the movie takes place on that location. And also I liked the whole storyline of the different Mickeys and how they died. Sometimes it was a little comedic, but I also liked that it did touch on deeper themes, specifically. Well, and it kind of ties back to the movie Companion. It's not exactly the same, but it kind of has these deeper underlying themes, such as, individuality, what makes a person a person. This Mickey is being reprinted over and over, but each time he is different in a sense. Even though he's the same, he's different, because it's almost like his personality evolves over time as he dies and is reborn. And he has all his memories, and he's very clearly a human, right? But the people around him, most of the people around him who are working with him or the ones sending him out on this mission, because he's expendable, it's almost like they view him as less than they do view him as less than a person. It doesn't matter that it hurts him when he dies. It doesn't matter that he doesn't like it. He is, to them, literally expendable. And something that I liked about the relationship that his character has with the one played by Naomi Ackie, I think her character's name is Nasha or something. What I liked about that relationship was that you see that she was one of the few in this ship that viewed him as his own person and treated him respectfully like a person who mattered. And I thought that was a nice touch. I like that. Now, before going in to see this film, I had started to hear rumblings that it was basically a take on Trump. It was anti-capitalist. I don't know so much anti-capitalist, maybe like anti-big corporation, anti-sort of, big pharma and the misuse or abuse of certain things when it comes to those industries. I can see where some people are coming from when they say this is very obviously sort of an attack on Trump or whatever, because Ruffalo does seem to kind of be sort of imitating Trump in some of his actions. Not completely, but I can see where if you go in looking for that, you're going to see that. Also, there's a scene towards the beginning where some of his supporters or whatever, they're running around with red hats, as if red hats automatically and always mean Trump. But, it's kind of like symbolic of that. I don't know. The director denies this. He said that this is basically where he's coming from. Come on. As I mentioned, the director denies that this is the case, and he claims that if anyone sees Trump in this portrayal, it's projection. On the one hand, I can see why he would say that, because from his point of view, things were changed about these characters, by the way. In the movie, Marshall has a wife. In the book, this wife character does not exist, from what I understand, because I went looking up what are the differences, and there are differences between the two. They're both very similar, but there's some distinct differences between them. And the director, he's the same guy who directed Parasite, but he said that for him, it's about what was the exact words he used? The stressful dictators or the stressful leaders of the past or something like that. And he specifically referenced the Marcos family, the Imelda and her husband, and the Ceausescus, if that's how I pronounce it correctly, the dictators of, I think, Romania. And so from his perspective, that's what it's about. Power hungry, power couple, awful human beings in charge of this area, and they're really vile people. I mean, the both of them. If I had any sort of, substantial complaint about the fit, well, I have a couple. With regard to that, I do feel like their performances were hammed up, and it didn't work so well for me. However, just because it just seemed like a little bit over the top and ridiculous. However, this is satirical, so it's going to be. There were also no redeeming qualities about those characters, which kind of, obviously they're supposed to be these complete baddies, but I like it when there are baddies that have a bit of nuance to them and makes them interesting. And if you can identify with them on some level, it makes their characters much more compelling and fascinating to watch and see how they act and see the decisions that they make. These characters, they're just pure awful, nothing redeeming about them. And so it felt a little superficial. But that might have been completely the point because, like I said, this is satirical. So not a humongous complaint. One of my main complaints, honestly, is that this movie, it's more than 2 hours long, 2 hours and 17 or whatever. And, you know, I don't always have an issue with movies that can be lengthy, because if they're done right, if it's paced well, if the story is super engaging, I don't care at all. But this movie, even though there was a meaning to everything that happened in here, because there's a lot. They have flashbacks, and then they show the stuff going on with the creatures on the planet and how that ties in with everything that's happening on the ship. It still felt like it was a bit too long, and I started to lose interest in what was happening. I kind of didn't expect that, and I'm not sure, I don't know if I can point to anything specifically that could be trimmed or improved to make this flow better. I honestly don't know. Maybe cutting out the whole part of the wife character. Maybe, because she was just almost another iteration of her husband, and it was like we had two of the same types of characters. It did feel like her character was rather unnecessary, and maybe trimming her out would have leaned this down a little bit more to the point that it would have flowed a little bit better. I honestly don't know. I certainly didn't feel like this film was a waste of my time. I wasn't hugely disappointed in it or angry with it or anything like that. I just didn't love it like I kind of was hoping I might. And I also don't know if this is a situation where the book itself is better than the movie or vice versa. The director did take liberties with the material. I believe it did say in the credits that he wrote it and directed it or something like that. So it seems like it was something he adapted. If you've read the book and you love the book, you might really dig that. Maybe you'll like this even more than I did, someone going into it not having read the previous material at all. I have no idea. Let me know how you think the two compare. At this point, I don't think I have anything more to say about Mickey 17, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up for now, and we'll see you in the next video. Nos vemos!